What's happening?
That's rather sad, isn't it?
Yeah, that was a bit,
little morbid, but
intimidating. There's blood there and
It is.
everything.
The Gould and the
Rather
Goats.
sad.
We're having a bit of fun with 100% footy in 2025.
Wakes up with a horse's
easy,
head
Gus.
in his bed.
A bit to get through tonight on the bet. I think the big talking point this week is obviously going to be Thursday night. Amy Park, your old happy stomping ground, Cam.
Yeah.
Grand final rematch.
game.
Storm v Panthers. You guys obviously know these two clubs. Gus, you the Panthers. Cam, you the Storm.
Yep.
So intimately as well. You go back to how this rivalry has developed, that 2020 grand final, which you were a part of. There's a lot there, isn't there?
Yeah, there is a lot. As you said, started back in 2020, where they were the raging red-hot favourites for that premiership in 2020, and rightly so, given the run that they went on. I think they won like 17 matches in a row, leading into that grand final.
Little Pappy.
I still remember we only played them on the one occasion during that year, and it was at Campbelltown. No crowds. You got to remember, it was that COVID year.
During COVID, yeah.
Yep. And we went out. It was probably our poorest performance of the entire year, and they beat us by about 8 points. Right. I remember coming off the field thinking to myself, I really hope we get another crack at those guys because I reckon we'll get them. And a lot of things went right for us on that night. But as you said, they've actually played each other in a couple of big games in the seasons afterwards, and then obviously last year in the grand final. So it's a bit riding on this one. Obviously, the Storm, there'll be a bit of a feeling there about the result last year, but also for Penrith, they're a side now that they've built this aura around them that they lose very few times consecutively, and after that performance on the weekend. I think they'll want to get back out there and be at their very best.
Can I ask you how you assess this grand final? The final score was only 14-6. What they proved on this night, that they were clearly the two best teams in the competition. Yep. None of the teams could get near these two. No two teams could turn on a game like this, which actually produced Origin-like figures the whole night. But I walked away from it. Even if it was only 14-6, I felt like Melbourne were never going to win it. I felt like... And I even felt after the game that Melbourne were frustrated thinking, how do we beat this side at this time? Did you feel like that? Did Melbourne feel like that after the game?
I don't think they ever thought that they weren't going to be in it, Gus. I thought it was a great game of football, a very even game of football. I just thought that Penrith, they had a bit more experience at that game, compared to Melbourne. They had a lot of guys playing there or being involved in their first grand final build-up. As you know, Gus, it's a big week. Particularly your first go at it. And I think back to my first time in grand final week 2006. We went into that game as favourites against the Broncos, but we come up against a side with Darren Lockyer, Petro Civoniceva, Shane Webke, a lot of experience in that footy side, and they just knew how to get it done. So I think that was the difference last year in that grand final, was that when the opportunities arose, Penrith took those opportunities. Melbourne Storm had opportunities, but they just couldn't capitalise on them like Penrith did.
Can I ask, at the end of the 2020 grand final, there was vision of you going over and seeking out Nathan Cleary, and you had a word in his ear.
Yeah.
What did you say?
Oh, it's been kept a secret for a while. No, look.
That's what I'm
yeah, look.
asking.
He was actually with his father, and he was clearly hurting and disappointed. And I actually went down to him and said, "Look, mate, you've had a fantastic year." I said, "I know how much this hurts. I've been in the exact position you're in. Just learn from it and get better." And I just left it at that.
And look what you did.
I shouldn't have done it. I shouldn't have done it.
Yeah. It's Gal, you mentioned before too, Cam, and he did your head in a bit over the years. Nathan Cleary, is he the modern day version of a player that can turn the match themselves? A bit like Charlie was back in the day,
right?
Yeah,
look, Cameron Smith, I've said it repeatedly, not just because he was the best player I ever played with or against, and he had the ability to turn a game. Mainly through me, I remember playing him, particularly in Origin, would be beating them up coming out of their own end. They would be lucky to get out of their 30, and all of a sudden Cameron Smith would come out tackle 4, somehow pull the ball up half a metre inside the in-goal line. Well, it was going to get bounced dead for all money, and then all of a sudden him and Jonathan Thurston making the tackle on the fullback, and all of a sudden we're dropping the ball out. Things like that, he could just turn the game so easily. And look, Nathan can do that too. In the way he does it today, he can score tries, set up tries. His kicking game's fantastic. So, yeah, look, obviously when you're comparing the greats of the game, Nathan's well and truly in that conversation.
Looking at this game Thursday night, Melbourne are far more settled in their lineup compared to last year's grand final than what the Panthers are at the moment. But I don't think they can underestimate the Panthers in this game, like you say, coming off the loss. And I thought Cleary was brilliant in the last 10 minutes of that game the other night against the Roosters. I know his side wasn't playing well, but the way he kept thinking through the clock and the sets of 6 and what he was going to do, took 2 penalty goals at 14 behind and 8 behind. He was really thinking about how to get it done. And they only fell at the last play the ball of the game. Brian Tottle gets it down in the corner. He pulled off a miracle.
Well, Gus,
he's always at you, isn't he?
In his mind, he was thinking they could win. At no stage he thought, if we're behind by 8, okay, we're going to score, then we'll be behind by 2. He was thinking, we'll keep the goal, we'll be behind by 6, we'll score a try, then we're equal. That's always his mindset.
Well, Storm have got to respect the fact that that's what they're playing against. They're playing against someone who thinks like that during a game of football.
Hell of a match-up, this one on Thursday night. With the other 2 items on our hit list, I just want to get to them really quickly because it's what's old is new again, these two. Ricky Stewart, his team, written off pre-season. They're 2-0 to start the year. And Wayne with the Bunnies, considering the Cam Murray news and the Latrell news leading in, they're flying as well. You guys know these two so well, all 3 of you. The magic dust, it's in full flight.
Yeah, well, I've been coached by both of these wonderful coaches, and their ability to have their team well prepared, but also focused on the job at hand. No matter what's going on the outside, no matter what's being said about the team or the club or individuals, that's their one great ability, is to be able to almost put their team in a bubble and shield them from all this outside noise that you don't need.
They're very, very different during the game. Ricky's on the sideline looking like he wants to play, and Wayne looks like he's in the lounge room watching a movie on TV.
The Raiders reminded me a little bit of our 2016 side. They've got some old hard heads, Papali, Tapine, Horsburgh and Hudson Young in the middle, and these young outside backs are just, they don't care. They just go out there and play footy. They're fit, they're fast, and they're skillful.
Fit and fast. That's what they are at the moment.
The Goulfather and the Goat and the other bloke down the end as well, chiming in with a few things. Our new segment here on...
It's nice to have some common sense.
Mate, you can send me home.
No, I like having you here, Gal. Okay. It's your show too, mate.